Journal for January 3rd, 2020. Well, welcome to the Serene Disciple Project at Egret Isle Farm, and Happy New Year on this cool, rainy day in early January, and welcome to the kitchen. Now, for those of you who have just discovered this YouTube channel, or you wandered across this video one way or another, the Serene Disciple Project is about something that I half seriously call suburban monasticism, which is described more fully in other videos on this channel. But suburban monasticism rotates through 4 spaces: the deck, representing spiritual devotion; the shop, representing creative work; the kitchen, representing radical hospitality; and the porch, representing spiritual conversation and friendship. Now, I will put the links below to the videos where these 4 spaces are introduced. But today, we are in the kitchen, and I want to show you how to make something that will facilitate radical hospitality. I call it Hogwarts Soup. Now, let's get started, and while we're cooking, I will explain to you how this facilitates radical hospitality. You want to come along? All right, come on. So much of what I produce in this kitchen starts right here, the humble onion. There is a description of cutting an onion in a book called The Supper of the Lamb by Robert Capon that is worth the price of the book itself. Capon writes, "God likes onions, therefore they are. The fit, the colors, the smell, the tensions, the tastes, the textures, the lines, the shapes, are a response not to some forgotten decree that there may as well be onions as turnips, but to his present delight, his intimate and immediate joy in all you have seen and in the 1,000 other wonders you do not even suspect. With Peter, the onion says, 'Lord, it is good for us to be here.' Yes, says God, very good." And I'm not going to try to get the dicing very fine, since I'm going to blend it all together later. Now we'll put our onion in the soup pot with some olive oil and begin to saute the onion, and the magic begins. Do you smell that? Well, maybe you can't. Wouldn't it be cool if there at the top of the screen was a little button with a nose on it and you could smell this? Because, oh man, I bet you can imagine it. The smell of onions sauteing in olive oil. It's one of my favorite smells. And I think Paul in the Bible could imagine it. He said, through us, he brings knowledge of Christ everywhere we go. People breathe in the exquisite fragrance. Because of Christ, we give off a sweet scent rising to God, which is recognized by those on the way of salvation, an aroma redolent with life. Now, I don't know if this is what Paul had in mind when he wrote those words, but this is always the smell I've had in mind when I read them. This is the smell of life, the smell of welcome, the aroma of hospitality. It's an invitation. Can you feel it? And now we make the invitation irresistible. Garlic. Put the smell of sauteing garlic with the smell of sauteing onions. Oh man. I bet you're on your way over here now. Okay, the onion and the garlic, old friends, are getting to know each other again. Let's put a few more guests into this party. A knob of butter and a splash of white wine. Now, let's turn the heat down a little bit and let all these old friends reacquaint themselves. I believe in the practice and the power of radical hospitality. But for hospitality to happen, for me to invite you into my kitchen, into my home. It just can't be difficult, especially if hospitality is to be spontaneous and unplanned, which is the very best kind. No, if it takes a full court press for me to get ready to have you in my home, it's not going to happen that often. Radical hospitality requires transparency. And speaking of transparency, I believe these onions are about as happy as onions can be, all cuddled up with the garlic and the olive oil and the butter and the wine. All right, the next step in this very simple soup is to add pumpkin. I told you this was Hogwarts soup. And I actually made this up to delight my kids when they were young, about the time the first Harry Potter movie came out. And I told them we were having Hogwarts soup for supper that night. It worked. They were delighted. We've been cooking Hogwarts soup ever since in this family. Now, make sure, if you want to try to repeat this experiment, that you get 100% pumpkin or solid pack pumpkin. Don't get pumpkin pie mix. That makes all the difference in the world in this recipe. Trust me on that one. So once I get the pumpkin stirred in, I'm going to add chicken broth. I told you it was simple. Now, the next thing I like to do, because I like it kind of smooth, is I hit the whole thing with the immersion blender. Now, you don't have to. If you don't have an immersion blender, you could put it in a regular blender, though it'll be kind of hot, or you could do without. It'll be good either way. But I'm going to go ahead and blend this up. All right. This is nice and thick and bubbly and smelling like Hogwarts soup, almost. There's a couple of things we have to do yet. First, we need to put some Swiss cheese in it. Does it have to be Swiss cheese? No, it doesn't have to be Swiss cheese. You can put it in whatever you got. I have let the cheese melt. I've brought it back to almost boiling, but I don't want it to boil from here on out. And so I'm going to bring the temperature down. Now, one last ingredient to seal the deal. And that is heavy cream. More? Oh yeah. There is one secret ingredient. I hesitate to show you because then you will be able to make this yourself. So you just keep it between you and me. It's right over here. White pepper. You don't have white pepper. You need white pepper. This will give it that final little bit of kick that will just make your guests smile. Now, what do I mean when I say that radical hospitality requires some degree of transparency and is a little bit risky? Well, if radical hospitality is to happen, I'm going to have to do a scary thing. I'm going to have to let you see me, how I really am in my natural setting, and not some version of me that I'd like you to think is me. You know, the guy who has it all together, the guy who has his ducks all in a row, as my father-in-law used to say. The one who has everything in its place where it's supposed to go. Well, that's not me. And if I'm going to be transparent, I can't show you that person. I have to show you the real me. So, for instance, I want to be able to meet you in the post office or at the grocery store and say, hey, I'm glad to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. I'd like to catch up. Say, I'm making soup today. Why don't you come over? And when I say that, I don't want to have to go home and do a huge scramble to clean up to be ready to show you some place that isn't where I live, actually, at least when I'm there and living it. No, I'm going to have to let you in a little bit. If you came to my house right now, you'd see that there were some clothes on the couch that I hadn't got around to folding yet, and towels stacked on the counter, and some dirty dishes in the sink. And I bet it would be okay. You see, these things are there because this is not a museum. It's a home where people live. And if I'm willing to let you see my dirty dishes, you know that I don't mind seeing yours. And if I let you see my mess, metaphorically and not metaphorically, I free you to be real as well. Someone has to go first. It can be me. Now, I serve this with a dollop of sour cream and a dash of paprika. Put it with a bit of crusty bread and the rest of the white wine, and pull up a chair. Tell me what's going on with you these days. I want to invite you to the risk and the delight of radical hospitality. Invite some friends over and don't scramble around to clean up. And wait to start cooking until they arrive, and then cook together. And fill the kitchen with wonderful smells. Point out the dirty dishes in the sink, the unfolded laundry on the couch, and laugh. Something to think about. Well, I think that's enough for today. We'll see you next time. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, and give.